Hello and welcome back to the Public Eye Podcast, a 6-part series of podcasts brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'll be your host, Sarah Travers, and throughout this series, I'm speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how these companies have come to be, gain insight into their growth, and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Well, today I am delighted to be joined by Gemma Murphy, partner of Jack Murphy Jewellers. Gemma, can't wait to talk to you. Welcome to the podcast studio.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
Before we begin, I'm going to give a little bit of background on Jack Murphy Jewellers, and I'm sure everyone in the Newry area knows that name. But Jack Murphy himself started his trade at the young age of 14 as an apprentice watchmaker. With time on his side, he later moved into jewellery and while still in his teens built up a strong, independent workshop. In 1963, he moved to Downpatrick with his late brother Willie, and the business continued to grow from workshop to retail. A year later, Jack joined the Ulster Jewellers Association and Retail Jewellers Ireland. This led to an invitation to join the Council of the National Association of Goldsmiths. Jack and his wife Pat then settled and opened Jack Murphy Jewellers in Newry in 1972. Since then, the company's mission has been to provide top quality jewellery goods at exceptional value and to offer knowledge and expertise through the team's exceptional customer service, creating a truly unique and memorable experience for customers. Alongside the option to have bespoke jewellery pieces made, products range from luxury and premium jewellery and watches to branded fashion pieces for everyday wear. The multi-award-winning family-run business is bucking the trend on the high street and growing its already established Hill Street showroom by an additional 2,760 square feet of retail and office space. Now, daughter of Jack and business partner Gemma Murphy, who's here with me today, believes that this move will reinforce Jack Murphy Jewellers' continued commitment and strong 48-year relationship with the city of Newry. Well, Gemma, your dad sounds like such an impressive man. He's built up a fantastic business and starting his trade at such a young age. Do you think when you were growing up he instilled these values into you and the rest of your siblings?
Absolutely. I'd like to say that both my parents are extremely impressive. My father would be famous nearly within the jewellery trade. It's very interesting attending any events. You get no work done because everybody knows him and everybody stops to talk to him. But yes, absolutely, growing up, my parents, they work so hard. You've seen how much time and effort they put into the business. It was their baby and they were so proud of everything they'd done. It instills so many great values into all of us. My dad is so hard working. He gives it his all, but my mum, she's so calm and she's so articulate and so good. She served and dealt with the staff. But as I say, behind every good man's an even better woman.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that was my mum. So it was very much a joint effort. And yes, absolutely, there's 4 of us. And yes, we could all see how hard they worked.
So what was it like then growing up? You see, as a little girl who liked shiny things myself and sparkly things, it must have been just lovely to have gone into the shop and tried on a few things.
Absolutely. Well, we knew no different. So growing up, my dad was involved in so much and we travelled all over Ireland and everywhere we went, we had to go in to visit the local jewellers. So I know every town by the jewellers. But it was very much a community and everybody just got involved. So I didn't really work in the shop that much when I was younger. But everything behind the scenes, like working at home, everybody was involved. And
so how many siblings do you have?
So there's 4 of us in total. I'm the youngest of 4 and nobody had planned to go into the business. My parents back in 2008 had planned to retire. They were going to sell the business and the recession hit in 2008. So at that stage I was a qualified social worker, working as a residential social worker. And I did shift work, so I would have had days off. So I started to come in and help out because they took the business off the market when the recession hit and they were kind of at a crossroads of what to do. So I decided I would help out and I would help bring the business, get it through the recession so that they could then put it up for sale when the economy was a bit better. And I fell in love. I did that for 2 years. I worked both as a social worker and as a jeweller. And then in 2010, I left my career and went full-time into the shop.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what a transition. What was it about the social work that you were interested in, first of all? Why did you go down that route?
I always loved the caring field. From a very young age. I was involved in a lot of charities. I helped out in the local Gateway Club. I looked after a young autistic child locally for years, and it was just something that I had always wanted to do. And I studied in England and came home, and I got residential, quite a good job, and worked around the clock. I loved it. It was completely different, but I found I learned so much from my social work job that was able to also work in the shop, working within a team and managing my dad.
Oh, really?
He's quite a challenge. So I kind of, he would be difficult to work for. And I think that kind of, I could kind of take on anything. I grew up very quickly doing that kind of job, but once I got working in the shop, I could see the passion, I could see the drive, and it just made me so sad to think that they were selling it. And the team had been there so long, and I realised, I always thought I couldn't do it because I had no business experience. But my dad, left school at 14, and he had achieved so much. So yeah, I just fell in love, and I just worked so hard with my dad, and we had such a great time together, and I just realised this is now what I want to do. And
so literally you had one of those eureka moments. I found it. This is where I was meant to be. So tell me, you've already alluded to the fact that your dad might be difficult to work for.
Sorry,
so you
Dad.
came in. Yes, sorry, Jack. How did you find then the working together? Did you immediately go in as a partner, or what? How did that happen?
No, absolutely not. I went in obviously part-time because I was still working as a social worker. So the first thing that we decided was the shop was a bit tired because they were going to sell it, and they closed off brands and closed accounts because they were winding down. So I actually came in at quite a difficult time with the recession and losing some of our brands because they hadn't renewed them, and the shop, it needed to be invested in. So the first thing that we did was a refurbishment. We did a refurbishment 10 years ago. So it was great at the time. I very much was involved in picking things and designing things, but on my dad's guidance. Whereas this time, now 10 years later, we've just done a second refurbishment, which was my baby.
Your baby.
So yeah.
So that's incredible. And just staying with the 2008 thing. So actually, you grew out of a very difficult time. What else, apart from the refurbishment, because that's a big spend, did you have to choose different brands? Maybe people didn't have as much money to spend. Did you move away from high end? Did you offer more choice? Did you help people with finance? I don't know.
Yeah, so at that stage I was 24. So I was our target audience. And that's what I was trying to explain to my dad, that people were getting engaged older, and they were spending money on themselves. They were buying good things. So we didn't do fashion jewellery at that stage. And that's what we moved into then. So we started to do fashion jewellery, affordable jewellery, so that people could invest and spend money on themselves, so that they would build a rapport, get a relationship with the jewellers. They weren't intimidated to go in. So we started to invest in some of those fashion brands. We set up some social media. Facebook was quite big at the time, so set up a Facebook page. So it was just very much... and also, my dad pushed me in to do the Rose of Tralee. He said it would be a good PR for the shop, and it actually all worked out quite well. We did. Yeah.
So when did you do that?
In 2010, I took part in the Rose of Tralee, and I was on TV talking about Jack Murphy Jewelers. So he was delighted his plan worked out. It was a great PR exercise, as he says.
Wonderful. I love that. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. Okay, so moving on, you've talked about how you've done this massive refurb again, and this has been your baby. What have you done this time?
So we took over the corner unit next door to us back 2 years ago, and we knocked through. So it was a beautiful unit that was empty, and it had 3 floors of space. So we have taken over that unit. So our showroom has tripled in size. And then we have floor space upstairs for our offices, a conference room. So our team were able to grow. So we've now got a marketing team that are based upstairs. Accounts can now be upstairs. So we were getting big, and our team was getting bigger, and our unit was just challenging how little space that we had. And we had 2 private consultation areas, and now we have 7 consultation areas, so we're able to accommodate customers. But yeah, we wanted to make it a luxurious showroom that people felt welcome and comfortable in, but had an experience that they will always treasure and remember.
However, we did have a pandemic. We're still, coming out or trying to find our way through this difficult time. You've just refurbed, and the intimacy that's involved with, choosing jewellery. What have you done then for this past year? How have you managed? Have people still been getting engaged?
Yes, so we had to close in March 2021. So it was about 3 weeks before we were due to open the new showroom. So just on the edge. So we closed, and it all seemed to happen very quickly. And we were very worried about getting in touch with all of our customers who had jewellery in the store, and we were reaching out to anybody that was meant to be getting married to see if they wanted to take their wedding rings home or to see what we could do. So we closed down completely. I have a daughter that was quite vulnerable, so I moved to working from home, and then we stopped all of the building work. But we sat back and we thought, right, what can we do? So within every crisis comes opportunities. So our sales team went on furlough, and myself and our marketing manager, we had no website. We weren't able to sell online, and which was crazy. And
you hadn't had a website up until that point?
No, not one that could sell online. So my brother had been doing some groundwork for it before. He had been working hard and before we closed. So everybody went in furlough except myself and our marketing manager, and we were due to have our official opening in the middle of April, which wasn't going to happen. So we decided, right, we're going to launch a website that day. So no pressure. Mm-hmm. We worked round the clock, and we built a website, and we launched it on the day that we were meant to have our official opening before the end of April. And
in such a short space of time, you had completely diversified. And how did it go?
Brilliant. We were delighted with how we engaged with our customers throughout the pandemic. We really used our social media channels, and we really got to know our customers.
So who are your customers? I always think of, somebody going in to get an engagement ring. Is that really where you start?
So yeah, our bridal market would be our main market, but right across the board. So anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, birth of children, basically any special occasion in a life is normally jewellery, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day.
And do you find that, customers are shopping around, or are they incredibly loyal to the place maybe where they got their first purchase, maybe that special piece of jewellery?
Yeah, well, we're in a unique situation now where a lot of people who got engaged with my parents and are getting engaged with us, so that is lovely to see. But yes, we do have a lot of loyal customers, and we're so grateful for them. But people like to travel to get engaged. They like to make a day of it or go somewhere where nobody will see them. So we would get people that would travel far and wide to come to our store. We're definitely a destination store. On a day we could have somebody from Cork, Dublin, Donegal.
And would that have always been the case, or is this because of the website now and the social media presence?
So word of mouth we would have found that if somebody from in an office in Dublin got engaged and their ring, people always ask, when the ring is beautiful, they always ask. So we would find that people that worked in that office, they might be from Dundalk but work in Dublin, or from Donegal and work in Dublin. So we would find that word of mouth, we would have received pockets of customers from everyone that got engaged, sisters, friends, family. So now it's word of mouth, but also new ways of reaching out from.
So there's an obvious thing here. You talked about the refurb, and you were going to offer these 7 spaces where you could really sit down, take your time, try on the rings. Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you do about trying on?
So while we were closed, we started to offer virtual appointments. Oh. So because I had the website, I then had to go in store every few days to package up anything that was sold. So we then started to arrange, it just kind of came naturally where people would phone, and all the calls were obviously diverted, and I was taking all the calls at home, and people wanted advice, or they had an anniversary coming up. So when I was in store, then I was sending them photos, or I started to FaceTime them. So then we actually thought, right, let's let's make this work. Let's dazzle from a distance, as we called
Oh, I
it,
love it.
so that people could sit at home and take a virtual call, and we would go through all of the product with them and educate them and help them and support them. And obviously they could return the item if it wasn't suitable.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200.
But yes, so we helped a lot of people celebrate special occasions while we were closed. And we also set up a waiting list. So we had over 100 people on our waiting list for when we reopened, and we had a lot of engagements. Lockdown love definitely
Really?
was a thing. Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
So how many would you think you've had?
Well, I don't know actually offhand, but we found that lockdown, people were either apart and really missed each other, or they were together and they thought, right, let's take this to the next level, let's get engaged. So we really find a lot of people were celebrating engagements and are planning to celebrate engagements for whenever the event is over. But we actually started a Lockdown Love series on our social media to share some of the stories of people who got engaged or got married throughout the lockdown.
Are there any of the stories that particularly stand out for you?
Do you know, it's just hearing the stories. I think I find some of the key workers, you know, people who were working round the clock, and especially at the start when we knew so little about it and how hard they were working, and their boyfriends were coming to us saying, like, I really want to propose and make it special. Do you know, there were so many, but even I have to say our own marketing manager, Charlotte, she's getting married now in 2 weeks, and it has given us such an insight to what it's like to plan a wedding during a pandemic. So we want to help and support the brides as much as we can. A lot of them are going ahead with their wedding, and they need wedding rings. Whether you have 6 people attending your wedding or 60, you need your wedding ring. So it's made us really want to help and support our customers. We have a good understanding of what it's like for them and how stressful it is. So Charlotte has definitely given us a great insight.
Now, obviously, when you are getting married as well, or you're choosing an engagement ring, it's a very expensive piece of jewellery. It can be, and a bit daunting and overwhelming perhaps for a couple. How do you help somebody make sure that they get it right if they're choosing blindly?
Well, we find that we have a mix. So some couples will come in together. Some will come in themselves and try them on and then send some photos to their partners. And sometimes partners will come in on their own and want a surprise. So we will always reassure our customers that the item can be changed if it's not right. But they often know a lot more than they think they do when we start to ask them the question. So it's our job to help them come to the right conclusion. So we would even start by, do you know, what colour of jewellery does she normally wear? Would it be Joe, does she wear a yellow jewellery or a silver watch? Joe, that would kind of, and then you ask them, Joe, have they ever commented on their friends' rings? So they do know more than they think, but also a lot of people come in with screenshots from our website or our social media. They've been sent hints.
Yes, if ever you're thinking of it, pop in the question, this is the one I want.
Yeah, but we offer a bespoke service. So even if somebody was to propose and they wanted to make changes or adapt something about the ring, that's something very much that we specialise and offer.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever get somebody that comes in and says, no, I just want to do a complete surprise? Would you recommend that?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean. They're the people that we help whenever they think they don't know. They do know, and we get a lot of complete surprises, and we love them. We actually love hearing the stories, and we love seeing people after they've got engaged when they come in. So we would give out like a little ring clip. So if the ring was too big, that they can still put it on and they can wear it. So you don't need to know the finger size before you come in. You know, we make sure that when you leave the shop that, you know, if it's too big, that they can still wear it, so they don't need to worry about that.
How would you say the jewellery industry has changed over the years? Obviously, you know, getting married has always been such a wonderful thing. It's one of the big celebrations in life. And, you know, as we moved forward in time, people did question, would people get married anymore? But it still seems to be a really important part of this journey through life for so many.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, I think jewellery is it's an heirloom. It's something that's passed on from generation to generation. We would often hear men say, "Oh, I don't want a wedding ring," but if you think of the sentimental attachment, if somebody loses their father, and that wedding ring, that can mean so much to somebody that when it's passed on. So we think of everything, every piece of jewellery as something that you treasure and that you pass on and that you always have. So whenever somebody comes in store, what I find has changed about the jewellery industry is the customer experience. For me, I think that's so important. I wanted somebody to come into our Newry showroom and feel like they were in New York. So we wanted to enhance their experience, make them really remember it and enjoy it. So we installed a bar so that customers can really enjoy their experience. They can have a tea or a coffee or a glass of champagne while they're purchasing their ring. It helps them relax and makes them make the most of the day. We have a Polaroid camera and an Instagram area so we can take a photograph of their couple and they can take a photo home to remember it. And we just want to really make sure that they will cherish those memories and that they will want to come back and they'll tell their friends about the experience that they had. So that's what's important to me now is customer experience.
I think when you look at Instagram now and social media, those customer reviews really, if you're tagged in the photograph we got engaged today in our rings from Jack Murphy Jewelers, those beautiful stories, those beautiful images, well, it must reap rewards for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also an intimate experience, and we would never ask or expect customers to share, but we know that they got engaged with us and that they loved their ring and they loved their experience. And word of mouth, I have to say, is definitely a key way that we get business.
Do you ever get returns and go, I got that really badly wrong? Can we change that?
No, very, very rarely. Very rarely.
Okay, we'll move on from that one. So Gemma, then how do you get away from work? Because I know at home things are quite challenging. I know you've 2 daughters, but one has quite severe special needs.
Yeah, so my husband, Cathal, and I have 2 daughters, Moya and Aoife. So Moya is 7, so she's non-verbal autistic, and Aoife is 3 in preschool. So yeah, life can be a little bit different at home, but I find what happens at home can also really help and enhance the business. We found during lockdown that we wanted to help charities to use our platform. Obviously, businesses were finding it tough, but imagine what the charities were going through. They couldn't do their fundraisers, they couldn't do their events. So we thought, how can we help? So we set up that every month we would help a different charity, especially our local charities, national and local charities, and use our platform to engage with the charities and also make people in our community aware of our charities. We're working with Autism NI, which obviously means a lot to me as a parent of a child with autism. So in store, what we're doing, we want to make our store autism friendly. We want that customers can come in store, they can pre-plan their journey. We can reduce our music, we can reduce our lights, and we're installing a family room for children with autism or just children in general. And we want to make other businesses realise how important it is to educate their staff and to make their environment as accommodating as they can. So our team will be trained in autism training, and we encourage other businesses to really think about that experience that families or individuals with autism have when they go shopping, and how we can help them, not only just in retail, but also places like here and all of the different cafes. And we're so lucky. People in our community are so good to us and to my daughter. We go into coffee shops and people will know her and they will accommodate her, like the whistle down and grounded and craft. In Newry, we are treated so well, and we would just love to see all of the city really embrace and enhance the customer experience with people with autism.
You've obviously got really important values when it comes to how you run this business, and it started with your dad and you've taken it on now. What sort of leader do you think you are within the firm?
Well, I don't know. I feel like the team is so important to us. We've had some of the team there 20 years, 25 years, 17 years, and then their team is growing, so we have a lot of new members and new roles. And I feel like I really missed the team during the lockdown. I really knew that I loved my job, and whenever we all came back in, we were so ready to embark on this new journey. And I think that we we all do everything together. So I'd like to think that as a leader, I don't know if it comes naturally to me, but I feel like we plan and we grow together, and that's what I love about the business. Everybody is invested in it.
And how many staff do you have now then?
So we have 3 partners and about 12 in the team, but we could do with about 10 more.
And your dad and your mum, they live in Spain now?
Yeah, so they live in Spain for most of the year. So we were working remotely long before COVID. My dad has an office where he can link into our stock control system, and he can FaceTime a lot. So he still likes to do a lot of the invoicing, and he would do a lot of the background work, looking to see which brands are working and which aren't, and what trends he can see coming through. So he loves spreadsheets, and that works well. So I do a lot of the buying, and I serve a lot, and but my dad loves going to all of the trade shows, so he'll always come home to go to a lot of those type of events. But yeah, they've taken a backseat over a number of years, but they're both still partners, and it's great to have their support. But yeah, obviously in the past year, they've only been in the store a couple of weeks, really, in over a year. So it's definitely been interesting, and it's made me appreciate and realise how much support they give me, but also how much I need to learn how to do it on my own too.
But you've taken the business on in a direction perhaps that your dad wasn't going in, so he must recognise your strengths as well.
Yeah, and so my dad obviously recognises my strengths, and my brother joined the team 4 years ago as well. So he worked in the hospitality trade in London and moved home, and he has come into the business too. So it's just great to see how we can work as a team and as a family, and when I say family, that involves everyone. We call it the work family too. But yes, I really want to focus on the future and future-proof the business and see how we can grow and what we can do to develop and make Jack Murphy Jewelers even better.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge to date?
Well, there's been quite a few.
Yeah, obviously, this last year, but
well, yeah,
you embraced that.
Yeah, absolutely. So COVID probably was the biggest challenge. But when I reflect on it, I didn't stress and I didn't panic. Everybody was going through the same thing. And I just thought, well, let's just do the best that we can in this situation. We stayed in touch as a team, and we really made the most of the time. And obviously we're closed again, but we're back to selling virtually and working with our customers and working behind the scenes. And whenever we reopen, we'll be ready to take the shop to the next level again.
So what will the future look like for Jack Murphy Jewelers? That's where you're looking towards, but with a much more blended approach, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so important to grow our website. People who had never shopped online are now shopping online. So it's important that our business is able to accommodate all customers, whether they're the in-store experience customers or the customers that like to shop online. So we're going to continue to grow our website and our social media channels, which we are really proud of. We've got so much engagement through our social media channels, and obviously our in-store experience. But yeah, we had a great team meeting recently, and our 3 to 5 year plan, and yeah, we have lots of exciting things that we hope to see happen.
Well, I hope they all come true for you. If someone's listening to this and they're thinking about popping the question, and they're thinking about purchasing a ring, perhaps for a surprise, can you talk us through the whole process? What advice would you give?
Well, get in touch. Well, obviously the first thing that we would recommend is book a consultation. We have private rooms, nobody will see you, you can do late night appointments, and it's really have a think about how much you'd like to spend. You know, you don't want to spend too much, but they're going to wear this ring every day forever. So yeah, book a consultation, and then we take it from there. We have a beautiful selection of engagement rings, but we obviously have our bespoke service. So we have a huge, vast range of diamonds and settings, and we can CAD design, we can make anything. So yeah, it's basically get in touch and come in, and we'll take you through the whole process. And don't worry or panic, and plan ahead. Don't leave it to last minute.
Okay, great advice. So if anybody is listening, yes, do get in touch. Gemma, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering insight into the success of companies just like Jack Murphy Jewelers. What advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or they're unsure as to whether or not the risk is worth taking?
Okay, so I would probably start with work hard. I would like to think that I'm a hard worker, and hard work pays off. What you put in comes out, and I really do believe that. And I think if you're thinking of running a business, you have to realise it is round the clock. It's non-stop. Celebrate your goals. Set small, realistic goals, but celebrate every time you reach that goal, and always think of what's next. What can you achieve? Surround yourself with the right people. Our team, I am blessed with our team, and they are definitely the right people. So invest in the right people, and they will help your business to grow and evolve. And I suppose reflect and evaluate on what you've done and how you can be better.
Great advice, Gemma. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Well, that's it from the Granite Exchange podcast for now, but join me for the next episode where I'll be talking to Yuri Lee Kyon from the fashion brand Wonky. I'll see you again. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.